Hey guys, and welcome back to my channel. Taxes, taxes, taxes. We're going to talk about the BC home flipping tax. Has the provincial government finally found the magic bullet to stop speculation in this market? We're also going to talk about some new first-time home buyer incentives, as well as incentives on new construction, which is going to help a lot of buyers get into the market. So stick around to the end of the video where we're going to talk about that. Very quickly, before we get started, if this is your first time to the channel, my name is Hassan. I'm a real estate agent in the Vancouver area, and I make educational real estate content to help you on your real estate journey. I also make content designed to help you make your move in and around Vancouver. So if that sounds interesting to you and you wanted to chat with me one-on-one about how I can help you, you can book me for a free call in the Calendly link below and subscribe to this channel so you don't miss a future weekly video. All right, so the BC budget was released for 2024, and in it, the BC home flipping tax. I'm going to explain what this tax is and who it's meant to target. Essentially what the BC home flipping tax is it's towards people that purchase properties and sell them within a 2-year period. So how the tax works is if you purchase a property, you sell it within 2 years, you'll get charged up to 20% tax on the profit of that sale. And how it will work is if you sell within the first year, it'll be the full 20% tax. And if you sell within that second year, there's a gradual sliding scale that brings that tax down to 0% by the end of the 2 years. Now, this is meant to target speculators, and obviously the name of the tax, the home flipping tax, it's meant to target flippers. And so, the first question we need to ask ourselves is this actually going to have any sort of effect on the market? And in order to understand that, we need to figure out, okay, how many transactions are actually flipped and what sort of exemptions are there within this tax? Because this affects everyone who purchases a property. This is not really targeting speculators, builders. This is everyone who purchases a property. You are going to be under this 2-year window for a potential taxation. So when we talk about exemptions on this tax, a whole host of them. You purchase a property, and if there's separation or divorce, disability, job relocation, if you're actually creating an additional housing unit, perhaps you're creating a suite or you're renovating the property, that would qualify for an exemption, as it should. There's I think I might have mentioned job relocation. There's a whole host of these, exemptions. Personal safety as well. I was talking with a colleague of mine this morning in Kelowna, and he was saying, how many people are going to purchase a property and, use this personal safety exemption to be able to sell it within 2 years. So there's a whole host of these exemptions, and, ultimately, what happens is if you're going to sell this property, and even if you've purchased it before January 1st, 2025, when this tax takes place, you will be retroactively subject to the tax. So for example, if you bought in 2023, for instance, and you end up selling past that January 1st date of 2025 when the tax comes into place, you will be subject to that tax. So what does this mean for the market? So if we look at the total amount of homes that transact in a 2-year period, bought and sold in a 2-year period, it's estimated to be around 10%. I personally think that with the host of exemptions that are in there, the vast majority are going to be exempt from having to pay this tax. So, ultimately, is this something that's going to stall the market? Is this going to bring real estate prices down? Because that's what everyone is concerned about. It's not going to do that in any way. Most people are going to be exempt from this. Administratively, like administrating this tax on the provincial government side, that's going to be a costly endeavor to manage all of these exemptions and working with lawyers, etc. It's not really going to be fruitful taxation-wise from the provincial government side. It's not going to have a huge impact, I think, at the consumer level. But what it will do, and this is where I have concerns with this tax, is it's going to control what people can and can't do or want to do with their principal residence. And for me, I feel like if you are As soon as you start going after what people can do with their principal residence, I think that's a line that should not be crossed. Let's not forget that, federally there is also a flipping tax in place, in the sense that if you buy and sell a property within a 1 year period, your income or profit from that will be taxed at 100% business income. So now we have layers of taxes on top of each other. And if you look at kind of any product, any item out there, have you ever seen a product or an item that, you layer on all these taxes on it? Have you ever really seen that get less expensive to the market? And I think ultimately, this is going to do a couple of things. First of all, there's going to be people that purchase the property, and, within 6 months, they may figure out that I just don't like where I'm living. I've moved into a new neighborhood. I don't enjoy being here. It's not what it's cracked up to be. This doesn't fall under the exemption. They may rightfully, want to move, etc. And they're going to be encouraged to basically place that home on the market. And no matter what the market is doing at that time, they're not, if they make any sort of profit on that, they're going to have to pay that tax. So if they put it on the market, you're almost, geared towards trying to not make money on it and just move forward. The other thing that it's going to stop people from doing is people in that second year who may not fall under one of the exemptions, they're going to hold out to list their properties. A lot of them will. They'll say, we can just stick it out another year. And now, at the surface level, we might think that that's an okay thing, like, okay, fine. But we can't forget that where we're at today is that, supply levels continue to trickle down in terms of active listings hitting the market. It's not a flat line like this, but if we look at ourselves over the last 5 years, the 10-year mark, supply is just generally dropping over a long period of time. So now if we continue to restrict supply because we're encouraging people who want to sell their properties, if we're encouraging them to hold off for any period of time, we're messing with that supply in the market. And ultimately, when we do that, prices continue to go up. So, I think overall this tax, it's more of a political piece. We know that there's an election coming up later this year. People love to hate on the word flipper, but the reality is, flipping is not prevalent in our market. I've been in this business for 8+ years now. It's never a client's plan. They never come and say, look, I want to buy this property, do nothing to it, and 1 year from now I want to sell it and I want to make money. That's just not how it works, right? People do want to purchase properties that are dilapidated. They need a lot of work, put some effort into the property, labor, materials, etc., and then sell it for a profit, of course. And under this tax, they would be exempt. But, it's never a strategy to buy something short term, expect the market is going to go up and just sell it. That's a cryptocurrency type of strategy. It doesn't happen in real estate. When I look at this tax, flipping was prevalent back in 2016, 2017. Market was piping hot. Assignments. So people would purchase a property, and before they even completed the property, they're assigning that a few months later for hundreds of thousands more. That was a 2016, 2017 problem. So, I believe when I look at this tax, this is a 2025 tax, again, coming in January 1st, 2025, that solves a 2025 problem that doesn't exist in today's market. So, I think ultimately, not going to do much, but for the public, for the masses, they hate the flipper that doesn't exist. So, there's going to be a lot of people that are actually appeased by this tax, but, keeping in mind that that's another element of control. Now, one of the things to also consider with this, home flipping tax is it pertains to assignments, like I just mentioned, and assignments are prevalent in the new construction space. Right? So, investors will purchase condo units, and 4 or 5 years later, these concrete towers, they take a long time to construct. So 4 years later, completion is about to happen. And these investors a lot of them do want to assign and assign for a profit. If the market has gone up over that period of time, then they would be assigning at a profit. This would apply in certain scenarios where it happens within a 2-year window. So imagine, putting another tax on someone that wants to assign on an investor. Now, again, surface level, it sounds like it's a positive thing, But, on the developer side, they're really relying on they rely on investors to sell out their projects, right? To have the revenue to actually build projects and move them forward. Even when you have the investors in this type of a market where interest rates are higher, labor costs are higher, developers struggling left and right, foreclosures all over the place when it comes to construction sites, development sites. Talk about kicking developers when they are down by saying, hey, that big chunk of purchasers of yours, we're going to slap on another tax on top. We're going to make it, less lucrative, less enticing for them to buy your pre-sale properties. And I think that from a development angle, this could have some nasty implications to, again, developers that are already struggling right now to kind of take a big chunk of their buyer pool and disincentivize them, strap on another tax. Now, where does the thought of this tax come from? Now, for myself personally, I did a video actually last week where I was talking harshly about the current first-time home buyer incentive program. And at that time when I recorded the video, the first-time home buyer incentive was basically to save property transfer tax on a purchase price that's up to a maximum of $500,000 to get a full exemption. And in that video, I said, you can't buy properties for $500,000 anymore. No one is qualifying for this first-time home buyer incentive. And in fact, the BC United Party came out a week prior to me doing that video, basically saying we want to remove property transfer tax for first-time buyers up to $1 million. And I was remarking in that video that I thought this was a great idea and something that was a long time coming. Now, when the BC United came out with that was about a week before the provincial government came out with their budget. And so in that budget that was released, there's also now a enhanced first-time buyer incentive in the provincial government budget. And what that is they've moved that threshold from $500,000 fair market value to $835,000 for a full exemption up to the $500,000 amount portion. So for example, you purchase something above the 500,000 mark, but below 835, say it's 800,000, you would be exempt from the PTT of $8,000, which would be the value on the 500,000. You would pay the difference. What I'm getting at here is it would not shock me if BC United came out with their big platform idea, which was this PTT change up to $1 million, and perhaps the existing government was scrambling a little bit to put something in the budget that was going to offset that. I say that because as soon as the news came out, I go to the provincial government website. I want to look at the tiers for the partial exemption. I see that they're not updated. Every other announcement I see has been updated, the second that they talk about it, all the details are there. Who knows? Maybe they heard that. They commented on BC United's policy. Their budget comes out a week later. They're now maybe offering more than they wanted to offer. And now they're trying to maybe offset the loss of PTT tax revenue by introducing this home flipping tax. So, on the PTT, the property transfer tax, first time home buyer exemption, that is a huge change, up to $835,000 for a full exemption now. It opens up a whole host of other properties and a whole host of other buyers to take advantage of that exemption. And since that was announced, definitely my phone has been ringing more frequently with first-time home buyers that want to enter the market. The other part that was announced through this BC budget as well when it comes to property transfer tax is the newly built home exemption. So this used to be up to $750,000 of a market value or a purchase price for a newly constructed home, where even if you weren't a first-time home buyer, you would be exempt on the property transfer tax provided it was your principal residence. That threshold for the full exemption has now moved to 1.1 million. So that is drastic, and that means that more people are not only going to be able to purchase new construction condos, but they're going to be able to purchase townhomes as well and fall under this exemption, again, provided they meet the criteria for the exemption. So two really strong housing initiatives, and I commend the provincial government for these, because especially that newly built construction and not having to be your first home, I think that's going to help a lot of people. In fact, I have clients I worked with this year purchased a townhome in January for $1 million that completes in May. And the time frame for this PTT exemption, both of them, is from properties that complete April 1st of this year and later. So because this townhome that they purchase completes in May, maybe even June, I get to inform them yesterday that they're going to save about $18,000. $18,000 would be the PTT on $1 million. You're going to save $18,000 now because you purchased that property, because it's newly constructed, because it completes, after April 1st. So there's some good news stories here too. But yeah, so, when we look at the BC budget from a home housing policy perspective, you have this home flipping tax, which again, I think it's targeting the wrong people, the wrong problems. I've commended the provincial government a lot on this channel. If you've followed my videos, I've been very gung-ho about all of the supply initiatives that they have been putting forth in the market over the last year. I think they have been great. I think taking some power away from municipalities has been a strong thing. Even though I'm not necessarily for one entity holding all the power, I do feel like when it comes to housing, something needed to be done to push along these sluggish municipalities. But I just would hate to see, that control, having that level of control in policies and policies being announced that they're not going to be effective. Again, they come after people with their principal residence. They kind of stop the freedom that people have with their own properties. Of course, you can sell. This is not saying you cannot sell that property, but placing restrictions, enticing people to not do so. Anytime you mess with a free market like that, there's nasty repercussions. And when we look at every single tax that has been announced, before the foreign buyer tax, PTT, when it was actually increased, the BC spec and vacancy tax, which you need to make your declarations by March 31st. You should have received your notice in the mail if you own property. You can DM me or send me a message or a text if you have questions on that. BC spec and vacancy tax, empty homes tax, I could go on. Underused housing tax. Nothing has done anything for home prices. So this home flipping tax is just another bit of a restriction targeting flippers that don't exist in the market, a problem that doesn't exist in the market. But again, maybe enticing people to hold off supply, which ultimately is just going to move prices up moving forward. So there you have it, guys. I hope you enjoyed this week's video. If you did, hit the like button, because what that does is it takes the video and it sends it out to more people so they can learn from it as well. And if you enjoy weekly real estate content, subscribe to this channel so you don't miss next week's video. And again, if you are in the Vancouver area or the Fraser Valley and you wanted to work with me with your real estate goals, you can book me for a Calendly call or just send me a text, give me a call, shoot me an email, whatever's easiest for you. I'd love to chat with you one-on-one, but I want to thank you for taking your time to watch this video this week, and I look forward to seeing you in next week's video.